We are at 7:01. This is the agenda for our regular meeting of council held December 10th. For those who are online as well as those in the office, be aware our meetings are recorded for public viewing and placed on our publicly publicly available website. We'd like to acknowledge that we live, work, play on unceded First Nations land of the Hattiesat Chinnikit territory. And I do know that we have a delegation with us. We're just going to get a bit of housekeeping out of the way, and then I will welcome you to the meeting. So that was my call to order. First, second item of business is our approval.
I move we approve the
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Deck and Councillor Janice. First, I'll consider that a second if that's okay.
Thank you.
Any additions, deletions, anything like that? Not seeing any, so I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. 6 minutes. Somebody
You
want?
ready?
Yeah.
I move we adopt the minutes of the December 3rd, 2024 council meeting.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Deck and Councillor Janice. Any errors or omissions in those? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried as well. Do we have any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we're going to move right on to delegations and petitions. So we have James A. Stewart, who is the Managing Director of Island Rail. I see you've got a couple other folks with you. I will introduce here in the room. We have Councillor Ron Deck. Over in the corner there, just out of sight, we do have our CAO, our staff member who's helping us with administration. Councillor Justin Janice is on the screen attending virtually. And Alana Janice is our Deputy CAO of Deputy Finance, and she is providing some admin assistance there. So welcome, glad to have you, and I would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, my name is Dave Hayden. I am a professional railroader. I've spent 35 years with one of the Class 1 railways. My background is in engineering and business. My university was the Ivy Business School at Western University in London, Ontario. I'm married with 2 grown children. Both of them are a lot smarter than I am. I'm 73 years young, and I happen to be the president and CEO of Island Rail Corporation.
Thank you and welcome for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Who's next?
I'll go next. I'm Bill Williams. I'm the Vice President for Transportation. I spent 50 years in the trucking world, working for all of the major companies. The latest big one would have been Trimac, which most people know that one.
Thank you and welcome.
Here, Jack McLeod. I'm a VP at Island Rail Corporation. I've been in the waste disposal business and the trucking business and throughout my whole career. And we're pushing this railway through, and I hope you're going to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my name's Teek Spiller. I'll be VP of Marine Operations. And yeah, I've got a tug and barge company based in Campbell River right now. And I'm also First Nations here too. Teltan, which is from northern BC. And yeah, I've got got some fish farm boats that I work with right now, and we're looking to I'm going to connect the rail line from Nanaimo to Lulu Island. I'll be doing the barging of all the train cars and freight from there to across the water. Anyway, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is James Boudiat. I have background in rail, both short line and class one. I spent some time at CP. I also have a background in IT. So my role at IRC currently has been more on research and development, documentation, and the acting CTO at the moment. We are Island Rail Corporation. We're a privately held consortium of local, national, and international companies that can support Vancouver Island's vision to rebuild the Island Rail Corridor for future generations, all within the framework of reconciliation with the First Peoples as its partners. We prioritize community engagement, reconciliation, and fostering meaningful relationships and partnerships within the communities we serve. Our spirit of innovation drives us to continuously seek and implement cutting-edge solutions to elevate transportation standards and experiences. Our vision, IRC Transportation, will provide solutions island-wide. Freight and passenger rail service will help bridge communities, cultures, and commerce across the island. Our goal is to build sustainable transportation solutions. We will be able to transport both local as well as international cargo. IRC will create the most profitable short-haul railway in Canada. IRC will strive to meet the objectives of UNDRIP in meeting the needs of 14 First Nations on whose land the rail corridor exists, while leveraging two of Canada's federal ports that are the Port of Port Alberni and Port of Nanaimo. IRC rebuilding of rail on Vancouver Island will offer hydrogen-powered passenger and tourism rail, leveraging trade between Canada and Mexico and the Asia-Pacific markets, addressing the supply chain challenges of some of Canada's largest importers of goods such as Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Walmart, and others. Indigenous partnership. It is imperative to share with the reader that the founders of Island Rail Corp will have 14 Indigenous communities as a 51% owner of our company. We further note that the current Island Corridor Foundation, a nonprofit public body formed to acquire and protect the rail corridor, purchased the rail corridor lands from CP in exchange for a tax receipt of $300 million. IRC will be provided the rail corridor lands back to 14 Indigenous communities on whose land the Eland Railway was placed without consent, in exchange for having them as majority owner, with the rail corridor being assured for the next 7 generations. This will be accomplished with 2/3 vote of the ICF Board of Directors, made up of 6 members each of regional, municipal, and First Nation representatives. At the time of transfer, IRC will have an asset of more than $500 million in related rail corridor lands. This represents the foundational vision and mandate of Island Rail Corp, one that supports UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Our engagement process with First Nations: to welcome all First Nation communities on their land, the former Eland Railway will be placed with 51% ownership of Island Rail Corp, British Columbia Limited. No direct investment capital is required on their part. The Island Corridor Foundation will take measures via its board of directors to wind down its charity and assign its rail corridor lands to IRC BC Limited. IRC will finance, rebuild, and operate contemporary rail for the next 7 generations with First Nation members as the majority owners. This will include international cargo between the Port of Alberni and East Coast Island Port via custom high-capacity rail marine vessels to Lulu Island and on to Class 1 railways to markets in Canada and the United States. Currently negotiating contracts with the state of Nayarit and the Port of Nayarit for port-to-port exports and imports between Canada and Mexico, hydrogen-powered passenger rail, and tourism rail. Our top vertical markets: freight and logistics, passenger transportation, tourism and hospitality, infrastructure development, sustainable transportation solutions, economic development, and community engagement. And public-private partnerships, or P3, technology and innovation. IRC joint venture partnership and supply contract opportunities. This includes Indigenous nations. Aggregate wooden ties, 470,000 needed for the 180 miles or 290 kilometers of track within the island corridor lands. Transload facilities, custom rail barges, custom concrete ties as a global market opportunity, not just restricted to Vancouver Island, but beyond as well. Eco-tourism industries, hydrogen supplies, marine development, housing, privateer gold, mining, former gold mines with state-of-the-art technologies within the Zeballos region. This is a map depicting connectivity to the mainland from the port of Port Alberni through the rail marine link to Class 1 railways in the lower mainland. You're welcome to visit islandrailcorp.com/map to view a more interactive experience of this map. Partnership potential with IRC, strategic alliances. The scale of the public-private partnerships will exceed 2 billion Canadian dollars, secured by long-term contracts between the parties and the benefits they will create for both via licensing agreement and growing cash flows from exports and imports. We further confirm that the scope of IRC infrastructure projects qualify for both Canadian and British Columbia government funding, expected to exceed $300 million against the overall capital investments being made. First Nations relationship and engagement is well underway. This is a visual representation of the regional districts and First Nations communities and municipalities in which the Island Rail Corridor traverses and serves. Status of First Nation negotiations. IRC continues with its First Nation stakeholder meetings to conclude memorandums of understanding that will accomplish the following: securing 14 First Nations on whose land the Union Railway was placed without consent to support the IRC vision to assume control of the Island Corridor Foundation rail corridor lands, some 290 kilometers of railway between Victoria and Courtenay, the north to south, the south to north segment, and Parksville to Port Alberni, the east to west segment. The transfer of all ICF assets via the 2/3 vote of its board of directors. This will be accomplished by a resolution of its full board, made up of 6 directors representing 5 regional governments and 6 directors representing 14 First Nations, that will have the federal charity winding itself down and transferring its assets to IRC, which will become 51% Indigenous owned. The completion of the resolutions will provide IRC with an asset in excess of $500 million, and with its completed triple bottom line business plan, access of up to 300 to 500 million in Canadian infrastructure funding. IRC has confirmed cargo capacity for its first full year of operations that will generate in excess of $540 million pre-tax. IRC is in negotiations with the state of Nayarit, Mexico, to become its logistical partner for all imports and exports between Mexico and Canada via the ports of Nayarit and Port Alberni. With funding available, we expect to be at the green light, the commencement of the project, during first quarter 2025. One example of a strategic alliance is IRC and the state of Nayarit, Mexico. IRC, having just completed its second trade mission to the state of Nayarit, is pleased to confirm as follows: a port-to-port logistical partnerships wherein IRC will manage exports from the state of Nayarit for Mexico to Canada, and corresponding exports from Canada via the port of Port Alberni to Mexico via the port of Nayarit, a state-of-the-art port due to open during 2027. Note: the Port of Nayarit will have a capacity of 3 million TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent units, 20-foot containers, of which the state of Nayarit and IRC will commit to exporting as much of this overall capacity to Canada via the Port of Port Alberni, and reciprocally Canadian exports to the Port of Nayarit to Mexico. IRC expects to capture a minimum of 10% of all exports from the Port of Nayarit and seeking to expand Canadian exports to Mexico via the Port of Nayarit under this P3. While this operation will be scaled over a decade and beyond, the gross revenue streams are in the hundreds of millions of Canadian dollars. The Mexico connection is a
I'm wondering
historic
if I can
opportunity.
interrupt just for a moment here. I know we've got 10 minutes for delegations, and I see that you've got 6 or 7 more slides left. I'm wondering if you could, is it possible for you to send us the PowerPoint presentation? Is that something that you would?
Yes, your worship, if I may, would you just have James let him know that I'm going to speak for a moment to take advantage of the time cycle?
Oh, okay, so what was his name? Alex is gonna, James, sorry to interrupt. So Alex was just saying that he's gonna speak for a moment just to help with the time consideration. I think otherwise we have to have a 2/3 vote to extend time and all that kind of stuff for our procedure bylaw. So I appreciate all the information that you've given, James. And then if Alex could speak for a minute, that would be helpful.
Thank you, your worship. We will send you a copy of the PowerPoint. The conclusion and the reason for reaching out to the village of Zeballos, we've been in contact and reaching out to Chief John. We are requiring 470 or typical 470,000 ties. We're aware that in the Zeballos region, a forestry is taking place, Western Forest Products, so we're dealing with directly with the multiple First Nations. We'd like to extend an invitation to have the Zeballos First Nation, and we hope an opportunity to meet with Chief John to talk about the opportunity to supply us with timber for a contribution toward the total ties required. Secondly, we are working directly with 29 other companies, international in scope, to make up our consortium, one of which is SureSpan. SureSpan is the private partner and owner of Privateer Gold, who has defined gold in mines in the mining areas of Drown, Zeballos, specifically on Chief John's territory, that's worth in excess of $100 million. The owners are prepared to enter into a joint venture partnership with Chief John and his community, 5149, fully financed. Again, the village of Zeballos stands to benefit directly and indirectly from both timber supply for the creation of ties and gold mining. And our request to you, your worship, is an opportunity to come and meet with your council staff, and we hope your support, Chief John and council and staff, for their come to Zeballos, stay overnight, meet with you directly and in person to explore the benefits we have to offer the village of Zeballos and Chief John's community.
Thank you for that. If I can open it up to council for questions. And before I do, I just wanted to say that we did extend an invitation for them to see the presentation tonight. Unfortunately, due to scheduling and all of that, that wasn't it wasn't a good time. They haven't participated this evening, but I do wish you luck with connecting with them, as it's really outside of the Zeballos boundary, as you know, being a mayor. You know, it's really has to do with regional districts and on Ehattusat Chinniket's territory. I would ask though if any of council has any questions. Councillor Janice, I'll start with you. Did you have any questions for our presenters?
No, not tonight, but I really am interested. I really like where you're going with things. And just please don't tell anybody about the gold in Zeballos, okay?
Did you hear that, Alex?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then the other counselor we have here tonight is Councillor Deck. Did you have any questions for our presenters?
No questions tonight, but I will in the future. And I'd like to mirror Justin's comments as well. This is very interesting. Send us the information you can, please.
I want to state in response to the comments, this will be Vancouver Island's largest major infrastructure project as it relates to transportation. And if we lose the corridor, it will be gone forever. Most importantly, having been a CEO for Stoneham First Nation, who was Chief Jerry Brown, having been a former mayor, all of us on the board of directors of Island Rail Corp are passionate about wanting to make sure Island Rail Corp will be 51% Indigenous owned. We are working with First Nations up and down the island. We want the lands which are unceded to be transferred over by the demise of the Island Board of Information, who was created to preserve the corridor for rail, transferred back to the ownership of 14 First Nations. We have the experience, the expertise, and the capital willing to invest in a $1.7 billion project. And so to the issue of Campbell River, who would like to see the rail extended north, to the issue of the village of Zeballos, where the roadway, as I understand it, needs improvement. We see opportunities to assist with that, particularly should there be a decision by Chief John and Council to entertain a private sector joint venture partnership to allow the company who is willing to fully finance the re-mining of gold mines that were opened in the last century, which will bring great wealth to the community of Chief John and Council, and indirectly and directly a great improvement to the villages of Ellis on multiple fronts, including timber required for ties. So we're passionate about this project. We're eager to want to engage as many communities as possible. And we see the corridor over the next 7 generations expanding beyond its current boundaries to maybe go as far north as we've asked the First Nations in Alert Bay, wanting to go as far north as Alert Bay. Why not take it back into Zeballos, an area where rail used to exist? The railways are already there. So we're taking a 100-year vision, not an election cycle vision. So we thank you for the opportunity presenting to you this evening. We'll welcome the opportunity of further engagement, and we will send you a copy of the PowerPoint and welcome any questions you may have or any additional information we can provide.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And also thank you for bearing with us as we figure out our technological difficulties. You did a fantastic job considering all of the little bit of frustration we had. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. I'll look forward to seeing the presentation, and good luck on your endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. ABICC call for 2025. Oh, do we? No, we don't need to accept the presentation because we don't do that anymore. Old ways die hard, don't they? Well, it's coming from the regional district as well too. We accept every presentation we get. We accept all the reports, right? So one day I do one and the other day I don't do it. So would you like to speak anything to the ABICC call for 2025 resolutions, CAO Nelson Smith?
Thank you, Mayor Colborne. Just to highlight that the resolutions are due for February 6th. So as always, as soon as I get this package from ABICC, I bring it in front of council for consideration in any subjects we want to bring forward for the ABICC to consider, and henceforth have UBCM consider.
Perfect. So I think we're essentially what you're asking tonight is you're just putting it on our radar, and while we're going through our strategic priorities and any of those kinds of things and coming across issues that we would like the province to be able to deal with, that we could bring those forward before our next meeting in January.
Correct. Or if you have resolutions tonight, I'm happy to take them down.
All right. So folks, I will open it up to council. Your thoughts? Did anybody have any written down?
I do not.
Councilor Dick.
I do not, and I don't think we need to bother with any resolutions. I'm of the opinion we should go to ABICC and just join up with other resolutions that are there already.
Okay.
From my experience at one time, most of the resolutions that came up, I was all for, and we did our resolution 2 years in a row. I think that's good, my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And if things change, or if I didn't write any either, this for this evening, for this meeting. Keep it in the back of your minds. We'll bring it again to the next meeting, and then the one after that, just for a final kick at the can, just in case while we're doing any of those things, anything comes up. But as of this year, I think we've actually done pretty well. So, yeah. Okay, thank you for bringing that to us, CAO Nelson Smith. We have a letter from Uahlak. Their MTC's building coordinator and communications development. Did you have anything to add to this one? It's just a thank you letter.
That's correct, nothing further.
Okay. And thank you on council for supporting that as well from myself. Next, we're talking schedules. So CEO Nelson Smith, I'll pass over to you if you had anything to add.
Nothing further, just happy to make any changes prior to presenting this publicly.
Questions or comments from council?
Nothing here.
If I may,
Councilor,
thank you for the hard work. It's like trying to make a hockey schedule, isn't it? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, no. But it looks good to me, CAO. Thank you.
Thank you.
It does myself as well, and I'm so happy to see when we did the SRD, we accepted the SRD one last week or the week before, that some of my meetings are not, oh, I have to leave right now to get to Campbell River for, no, I hate having a council meeting at night and then leaving the next,
Yeah.
especially in the winter time if the weather's bad. Sometimes I'd like to, and I may participate via electronic means when the weather's bad and I go down and spend the night before a meeting. Yes, I was very happy to hear that.
Be safe.
Yeah. I will come in and get some deadlines information from you. Have you received the UBCM? This is through to staff. Have you received the new UBCM local government calendars yet?
Not yet. They are on their way.
Perfect. They're in the mail.
That's correct.
Okay. When they come in, let me know and I'll come in. There's a couple of things that I wanted to work out. I know we had talked earlier about maybe doing, and it's not on here, but maybe doing specific cows for like budgeting earlier and things like that, unless something else happens, but you're marking them for. Perfect. We have 2025 appointed liaison positions. If there's nothing else on that one, we'll move right ahead. Kate. Board positions. Did you have anything to add to this before I start around?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Did anyone have anything to add? I do want to table this until after the election. I'd really like to work on a strength-based and interest-based basis. I think the only one you have to appoint is myself for the SRD, the VIRL, and I would like to do the first quarter of acting mayor, just because that runs into the next cycle. I'm not sure that the Comox Strathcona has to, the waste management and the hospital district, I think as my alternate.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's done and sorted.
Yes.
Perfect, okay. So we don't have, and you're willing to stand for
I'm
those.
more than happy to do.
Perfect. So is that okay with everyone that I table that until I table the portfolio appointments until after the election? So we can work on a strength-based.
I think that's a smart idea.
Okay, so then all you're required really is a resolution to appoint me as Strathcona Regional District.
Correct. And as well as a resolutions table.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make them, let's do the SRD first and the acting mayor first, and then we'll table the rest.
Sure.
Reasonable? Okay. So if somebody wants to make a motion that I am the appointed for the SRD.
I move that our mayor is appointed to the SRD.
Second.
Questions, comments? We'll also do Councillor Deck as my alternate.
Okay,
Is that-
should be by resolution as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That's carried, and then if we could do Councillor Deck as the alternate for the SRD board, which makes him go on the Strathcona Waste Management and the Regional Hospital District.
Move that Councillor Ron Deck be the backup for the Strathcona Regional District Board and the hospital. Is that correct?
The Waste Management and Hospital,
Oh.
yeah. Both.
Waste Management Hospital.
I second.
Is that clear?
Yep, it is. Good. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Okay.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So that is carried. And then the 2024, we had Deck Janice, vacant Lewis. Would either Councillor Deck or Councillor Janice like to volunteer to be the acting mayor for that first quarter from January to March? As that,
I
Councillor Deck?
usually am, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll need that in a motion as well, or is that just an appointment?
That's a point.
Okay, so I will appoint Councillor Deck as alternate one for the period of January 25th and March 25th to March 25th. And then I will, oh, do you want that as a resolution?
No, that's
That's an appointment.
an
Okay,
appointment.
perfect.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna make a motion to table the rest of the appointments until after the election.
I second
Second.
that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor? Thank you for that,
Aye.
folks. Appreciate that. Then we can start out and see when who our new counselor is and where their interests and strengths lie. So that brings us to bylaws, 8.1, OCP third reading, CAO Nelson Smith. Do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mayor Colborne. Just with official community plans and zoning bylaws, there is a difference in how council can adopt these. Where most bylaws, there has to be a 24-hour period between third reading and adoption. Local Government Act makes an exception for the official community plan and for zoning bylaws that you don't have to wait that 24 hours between third reading and final adoption. So council could adopt the official community plan tonight.
All right.
I move we adopt the official community plan tonight.
We need third
So we
reading
need
first.
third reading first.
Okay. I move we adopt the third reading of the official community plan.
Perfect.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Questions or comments? Thank you, everyone, for this. This has been long and hard and good and amazing all at the same time. So appreciate that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. And then do the fourth reading and adoption for me, please, Councillor Jack.
I move we adopt and we get the fourth reading of the official community plan.
Perfect. I'm going to second that.
Thank you.
And then I'm going to ask for questions or comments.
I was waiting for you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That too is carried. And then we have just on our strategic priorities
Yes.
erased our fourth strategic priority for 2023 to 2026. Number 4 is gone, the OCP. We're down to 4, folks.
Night.
Thank you, Pete Nelson, CAO Nelson Smith for that. And then we're gonna move on to the zoning bylaw. What have you to add to this, CAO Nelson Smith?
Thank you, Mayor Colborn. Based on council instruction, there were changes made to the zoning bylaw to include institutional, as well as outline a section on the west side of the river for more residential.
That's in the map,
That's correct.
correct? Perfect. Do we have questions or comments from council? We do have to do this one first. Wait, do we have to do a public hearing on this one as well?
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Those were my only questions. Is that expected in January then?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Anything else for anyone? I think you've outlined what we've done pretty well, what we wanted, so thank you for that. And seeing no questions, I am gonna move right, oh, no, we're gonna do first. Yep. Also, give zoning bylaw 556/2024 first reading.
Second.
Perfect. Questions or comments? Didn't come up
Nope.
before, no. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. New business, in camera, none of those. So we're moving right on to public question period. I see we have one person in the gallery that knows the rules. And so I will open it up to the floor for questions.
I would like to have an answer to when there's a bylaw done and it's all passed and everything, who makes sure that everybody knows about it? And what is the consequence if somebody kind of not adhering to that?
I'm gonna pass that through. Is it okay to ask you to answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll pass that through the staff because he can do it more eloquently than I can.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh.
Once a bylaw is passed, we will put it up on our website. With this one, the official community plan has had a lot of public outreach through the mail delivery system, as well as through our social media, our website. We had a public hearing about it, so I'm hoping that the words.
In a public engagement session over at the hall as well. Yeah.
I'm hoping with this particular one that the word is out. And of course, being so significant to us, we'll likely do a little bit more than we typically do to let the public know. Most other bylaws, as soon as they're adopted, they get put up on our village website. And typically, if we're getting the village voice out, we'll highlight it in that.
And I'll just add to that with the OCP and the zoning bylaw, there was a lot of feedback. We had a lot of maps over in the public engagement session. So, and this is a planning document. These are planning documents. So this is for plans going forward in the village. These are not hard, fast rules in some cases. Some cases, this is what we'd like to see in the future. And of course, with regular bylaws, any kind of bylaw enforcement goes through our bylaw enforcement process and those kinds of things. We will, it's good for staff to make sure when there's new people coming on and when there's incoming councils and things like that, to make sure that we're familiar with this document. So I've read the old one probably 5 or 6 times before we even, just in regular business of being on council, before we did this revision.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just say something here? Yeah. We had a bylaw enforcement officer from, where,
The Strathcona Regional District.
yeah, and from South Nanaimo.
Yeah,
One of the big municipalities. And
just totally lost it.
his approach was, he's not gonna, you don't go around with a hammer. The first time people break a bylaw, it's a warning.
There's a process in our
Yeah.
laws, yeah, for
And-
enforcement.
And then after they've been warned, second time around, then there could be a smaller fine. And more as time goes on. But there shouldn't be any excuses about, we didn't know about the bylaw, because they will know that first time that they're
Okay.
broken it.
That's good. So one thing I don't know if they took much notice of it in that whole, you know, how you want to see your community grow. How many places around here are vacant, like so all the time, where they're just growing up with blackberries and stuff like that, and they're just gonna be rotting into the ground? Is there anything the village can do to get rid of some of these derelict buildings?
So there are approaches that we can take and there are approaches that we cannot. So we've explored a multitude of those. We've explored all sorts of things, but that's a conversation for a different, I think that refers mainly to like an empty homes type project, was I don't think is covered off in these bylaws. But I will have a conversation with you after the meeting.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Or you could come in and ask to see it, like, yeah, where the doors were open.
And it's interesting, when we were traveling this last time, we went down to Oregon. We saw a place where they had tiny homes. And not, if I say they were tiny, they were probably about from that wall to maybe here and maybe 12, 15 feet wide. And that was somebody's home. And they were all lined up and you knew there was somebody living in there because you could tell by the windows and the cars and trucks parked outside. Some of those could be, those lots that are vacant could be turned into something like that, and there'd still be room for a field, because I don't think we're ever gonna see a sewer system on this side of the town. Not unless that train comes right in here. That's another pipe
You know what,
dream.
homes are, it's a big, we're aware, we did, as part of that OCP,
Mhm.
we had to do the housing needs study, right? And everybody knows we need houses and 40% of our homes are empty. Like it's there, it's in the data,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. Let me adjourn and we'll have a conversation. Unless you want to do it some other day.
Mother time was good. I'll just get out of here.
Oh, we got nothing left to do.
Tell
You
Larry,
guys, nothing.
Well, that's your problem.
Somebody wants.
Move to adjourn.
I move,
Oh.
I second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye,
Any opposed?
aye.
Carried, we're done. We'll see you Thursday.
Okay.